All right, so on the screen you can see a breakdown of the delegates, and this is something that a lot of people are going to be paying very, very close attention throughout the course of the night. For the Northwest, you see with the states of Kano, Katsina, Jigawa, Kaduna, Sokoto, Kebbi, and Zamfara having 558 delegates. Then if you move to the Northeast, Borno, Adamawa, Bauchi, Yobe, Taraba, Gombe have 336. North Central has Niger, Benue, Kogi, Plateau, Kwara, Nasarawa, FCT having 360 candidates. When you move to the Southwest, Oyo, Osun, Lagos, Ogun, Ondo, and Ekiti have 411. And the South-South, which has Akwa Ibom, Delta, Rivers, Edo, Cross River, and Bayelsa have 372. And of course, the Southeast, wrapping this up with Imo, Anambra, Enugu, Abia, and Ebonyi having 285 delegates, bringing you to the grand total of 2,322. Now, there is, if you look at it, the number and how they swing in certain areas is quite a part of a larger conversation that's not just for this election, but has been in previous elections as well. And the delegate system is also one of those things that has come under the spotlight in the past several weeks.
Okay, and we are not doing this alone. Of course, we have our esteemed resource persons on standby. We have Ilo Mayokun. He's a public affairs analyst. He joins in live from Lagos, Nigeria. We also have Comrade Peter ESELE, public affairs analyst and former president of the Trade Union Congress. Gentlemen, a warm welcome to you and thanks for joining us in this special broadcast for the APC Presidential Convention.
All right, let's
Good evening and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Peter. And Ilo, let's make sure we can hear you. I don't think we caught those greetings right there.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay, great.
All right,
my
great.
senior colleague, I hear you, sir.
All right, I think we'll sort of work a little bit backwards to where some of the major controversy and conversation the past week left off, and that was around the issue around possibly the president selecting a successor. Now, we'd heard for a while now that he said he was not going to get involved. He didn't have anybody in mind. Then all of a sudden, about 2 weeks thereabout ago, it seemed that he would want to choose somebody. Again, all of this is unfortunate hearsay because we hear what happens behind party doors. Nobody really ever confirms or denies in totality. But let's start from there. And the issue of possibly the president choosing to anoint somebody and telling the party, this is my favorite son, this is my favorite candidate. Do you think that would have been the way for the party to go? Again, giving some of the back and forth we've seen about zoning the presidential tickets, whether to the north or somewhere in the south, and the potential for APC possibly to lose this run to Aso Rock in 2023. Peter, let me start with you.
Well, the president is also responsible for whatever anybody takes, because the president, in an interview, I think with one of the mainstream media in Nigeria, said he actually had a preferred candidate, and then he was asked who the preferred candidate is, and the president said, "I will not name him, so that any mischief will not happen to him." So when the president says things like that, he has already boxed himself in a corner. He may come and deny it right now, but the feeling is that he has a preferred candidate, but he's not able to say it right now, but he is responsible for whatever anybody takes. He actually said he has a preferred candidate. So the whole thing is playing out.
Thank you very much, Peter. Now, Ilo, the opposition People's Democratic Party did hold a convention about 2 weeks ago. Does this put the APC in an advantageous position, knowing that their candidate is from the northeastern part of the country? How much would ethnicity play in this convention, and how important is it for the president of Nigeria to emerge from the southern part, having known that the current president would have completed 8 years and is also from the north?
Well, thank you for having me again. In one way of thinking, you would think it confers an advantage coming from the north. In another way of thinking, those advantages have been dispelled over the years. Southerners have won contests before, Northerners have won contests before. It's in this country that Jonathan Goodluck contested against this same President Buhari that is currently in office and bested him. I think that was 2011. So, be that as it may, I think permutations and combinations are the hallmarks politics. They've been holding this thing for some time now, pushing it, into the future, waiting for what PDP will do. Now that PDP has done its own and dusted it, they are battles on the neck of the APC. It's their internal democracy now. So if they are able to do what needs to be done, and somebody comes up tops, and the process itself seems to be transparent, they have a better chance. Whatever person that comes up, whether north or south, if the issue of internal democracy is not sorted out, I'm sorry to give a better say or to going into a sort of. So either way, the best thing is to have a popular candidate that has what it takes to deliver in 2023. Otherwise, APC can kiss power goodbye come next year.
Let me follow up with you on that. Popular, we know, means liked by the majority, accepted by the majority, voted for by the majority. But in this situation where we've seen a lot of some of the internal wranglings of the party come out and play out in public, we can't even forget just 48 hours ago hearing that the consensus candidate may have been Ahmad Lawan. What do you mean by popular? For APC in this particular situation that they stand right now, for you, what would be a popular candidate? Or rather, who? Without possibly naming names, because we haven't gotten to the part of looking into our crystal balls just yet. Oh, we've lost. Okay, I think we've lost the connection to Ilo, but I know he'll be back with us. On the screen, you can see more of the delegates, of course, the accreditation of delegates having been in process. We're seeing more of the dignitaries come in, of course, for this, and we hope to get something started, including speeches by high-ranking members of the party any time from now, as well as a speech from President Muhammadu Buhari himself. But let's see if I can throw my question to Peter while we hope to make connection back with Ilo. So Ilo said popular for APC in this situation. What makes a popular candidate? Peter, what do you think?
I think what will make a popular candidate is whereby it's acceptable to the majority of the delegates. If you have all the delegates going out there to vote, and then at the end of the vote, whoever wins is the most popular candidate. So as far as the whole process is transparent and is free and fair, so whoever emerges, it becomes easier for every other person to line up and support the person so that they can go ahead and campaign for the 2023 election.
Okay, thank you, Ilo. Now, Peter, how important is, we've seen how these things work in other climes. President Joe Biden was Barack Obama's vice president, and they always want to choose their candidate to keep on the programs and legacy, that there's an endorsement. And coming closer to home, in Kenya, we've seen the Kenyan president did support, and he's throwing his weight behind Raila Odinga. How important is the support and endorsement of an incumbent president or in having an anointed candidate in the general scheme of things? But I mean, the word is mum from president. He's presidential media spokesperson. This morning did deny that, the president doesn't have an anointed candidate. He's a Democrat, and he will let the democratic process play out.
I think I don't think you can compare what we have to what happens in America, for example. You can compare what we have to what may likely happen in Kenya. Because if you look at what happened in America, Barack Obama didn't come out to endorse Joe Biden when the party primaries were on. Now, what Barack did was, I'll take you back to, Barack initially supported, in the election, Barack supported Hillary Clinton because Hillary became the candidate of the party. So when Joe Biden was also now contesting, Barack also stood out of it because it's the same party. So when Joe Biden won the party primaries, then Barack now came out to campaign for Joe Biden. The difference in our climb, I'm always surprised why a governor will want to impose a candidate or a president will want to impose a candidate. Now, the difference here is that our parties are not ideologically grounded. So what you have is a party of personality, where the personality overshadows the institution of the party. Now, if you go back to history, you can define a Democrat. It's very easy for you to define a Democrat. You're not going to say Barack Obama. You say he's a Democrat. Why? Democrat is pro-choice. They want more of government in the life of the Democrat. Then you now look at the Republican. The Republicans said they are pro-life. They want fewer taxes, while Democrats want more taxes for the wealthy. So what you have is whether you have Joe Biden as president of America, or you have Barack Obama, or you have Bill Clinton, you can have a direction of their policy. Now, but if you situate that in Nigeria, Obasanjo was our president, a PDP president. And when Yar'Adua came on board, there are no similarities in terms of policy because the party manifesto is not important. In other parts of the world, it's the party manifesto that we talk about. You actually don't talk about the individual. The individual can come up with his charisma to drive the ideological bend of the party. But what we have in this country is that we don't have that. If I know, for example, Ilo and I belong to the same party, Ilo, myself, yourself, or let's just give an example. 4 of us belong to the same party. We believe in the same ideology. Why would I want to impose? When I know that Ilo is still going to come out and implement the manifestos of the party. So that is the difference. So we shouldn't be comparing ourselves with what's happening in America. No, there are no, it's like night and day. So because they have ideology. Okay, if I ask you the ideology of APC and the ideology of PDP, you will find out that you can't lay your hands on it. So that's why most times people say they are both two sides of the same coin, or you also have at other times, you now see the personality of the president overshadowing the party. We had that with Obasanjo, we had that with Goodluck Jonathan, and we are also having that with President Buhari, whereby the president is now more like a monarch. Everybody now go to the president and say, who are you endorsing? Mr. President, endorse me. Ordinarily, in a democratic system, in a party that is in power, you can have 23 people aspiring to be president. So that's the challenge we face right now, is that there are really no party in Nigeria that is ideological, that has an ideological differences.
And I want to pick up from that because I think you made several points we should follow up on. 23 candidates vying for one party ticket. You also touched on the parts of party ideology as well, but also something that I think the example you made of Joe Biden and the Barack Obama situation. Ilo, I want to bring it to you. So the president apparently, maybe not obviously, but apparently internally to himself, he does have the person that he would prefer to win. I think all of us in his situation would probably have somebody. But I also wonder, given some of the ways that the president was before he became president, do you think the APC can really stand and depend on the president to campaign very actively for whoever wins, particularly if the person is not his preferred choice? And do you think at one point in time the president will let us know who his preferred choice is, particularly if that person does not win the tickets in this situation? Ilo, are you with us?
I don't think. Ilo, are you there? Can you hear us?
Okay, I think we're having some sound and audio issues. Again, we'll go back with our conversation. You can see the feed there, more dignitaries coming in, still doing handshakes and greetings. So let me tell you, Gbenga, I know this is going to be a long night, one we are prepared for. 23 people. You can see Rochas Okocha there with his red hat standing above, so we'll be able to pick out one or two faces as they make their way in. 23 candidates. We can give you some of them right now so you know whose names are in the hat. And it's also a question, I think, with 23, whose name is viably in the hat. It's not just enough for your name to really be. Not making up numbers.
I did hear one of the candidates yesterday that is vying for the position of flag bearer. A journalist asked him if he was going to step down. He said, step down for what? I already have 23 million votes. I don't know where he got it from. He's the governor of Kogi State, so we might have to direct that question to him, Governor Yaya Bello. So it's quite intense, and a lot is at stake here. The presidency, the APC has won back-to-back presidency, and will they be 3 times lucky this time? I guess it all depends on what happens tonight, who emerges the flag bearer of the ruling All Progressive Congress.
So a few of the names that you can find on the list that delegates at the APC convention today will have to be picking from. Ibikunle Amosun, right now, he is from Ogun State. He's a senator for the Ogun Senatorial District, and he was also former governor of Ogun State. He was a former senator as well. This is his first attempt was in 2007 under the ANPP in terms of his political career as running for governor. We also have the current vice president of Nigeria as well, Yemi Osinbajo, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, who is currently also running. He's a senior advocate of Nigeria. He's the current vice president as well, and he's been a member of the APC. Prior to the 2015 presidential election, he was chosen as the running mate of the president.
And is also seen as one of the front runners and top contenders in this
runner
convention.
Against the next person in question, who is Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and that's the former governor of Lagos State. He was also a former senator as well, governor of Lagos from May 1999 to May 2007. Some have said that he is one of those who was instrumental, let me use that word, instrumental in making sure the president emerged as president, and also in Professor Yemi Osinbajo becoming vice.
And he did say it himself.
Yeah, he didn't use the word instrumental.
Yeah. He was speaking in another language.
He chose his words very carefully. All right, also on that list, we have TNTS Jack Rich. He's the founder and president of Belema Oil, and he's a Nigerian entrepreneur and philanthropist. He's also on the list. He's a founder of the first indigenous oil exploration and production company in Nigeria.
And it's the youngest, if I'm not mistaken. I stand to be corrected. No, Governor Yaya Bello is there.
But they're close. He's 47. Yes,
yes.
Well, quite close. And it's one thing to see young candidates, but it's another thing to see young candidates who have, again, this viability. You know, there's a difference between potential and possibility.
True.
You know, so let's have that. Also on this list, we won't go over all of it now, but just to let you know a few of them. Godswill Akpabio is also on this list right now. He's from Akwa Ibom State. He's the current minister of the Niger Delta. He's been in office in that position since 2019. He's a former senator for Akwa Ibom. He's also one-time Senate minority leader and one-time governor of Akwa Ibom State. So there is a political lineage or political background there. And finally, for now, we'll stop with Rotimi Amechi. He is also, or at that point, let me say he's former, because he did step down.
Yes, he's former.
Yes, he's a former minister of transportation. He did step down when the president said that all of those in his cabinet who were intent on running needed to resign their positions. He's also former governor of Rivers State and former speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly as well.
Okay, we still have our guest on standby here. We have Ilo Mayoko and a public affairs analyst, and Comrade Peter ESELE. Now, let me bring back Ilo. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Nice to have you back. Now, looking at the convention today, what would appeal to the candidates and what to the delegates? What do the candidates need to do to sell their programs and their vision to those candidates in order to emerge victorious?
Well, if you're asking for what needs to be done today, other than dotting the I's and crossing the T's, there's hardly anything any one particular candidate can do. Between the governors and the delegates from each of the states, I can tell you that they have decided.
Or you think their minds...
any last-minute changes, there's nothing anybody can do. The deeds have been hashed. But given what happened yesterday when the national chairman of the ruling party made what they call a folks pass, I think we might end up having to go for elections. Consensus is an alien word in real democratic tenets. Because Nigeria is a strange country. The reason they do primaries in established democracies is because they want to know who is popular. We have jettisoned that. We opted for indirect primaries, and we don't even want to allow 2,300 people to vote. Now we are asking for consensus. The thing I see is if we are not careful, APC will go, maybe use the back door to impose consensus on them. But because of procedural errors and constitutional issues, whoever emerges from that kind of process may end up losing the seats. either before or after the general election. So much care has to be taken to make sure that they follow the rules, the guidelines of INEC, the rules of party, and the Constitution of the Federal Republic. The days and times when it is the law courts that are giving mandates to politicians, they are not decent in a democracy. We should try and avoid it.
But yes. But Ilo, if you're in the
passion on governance, I'm listening.
If you're in the high command of the All Progressive Congress, what would be expedient for you, retaining power or just fulfilling democratic tenets and, you know, opening up the elections to voting?
Well, if you are a Democrat, the process should be more important than retaining power. 4 years ago or thereabout, the Democrats lost power to Trump. They went back to the drawing board, did some things, and now they have the power again. That's how democracy goes. If you are more interested in power, for somebody who is looking at power, you run on hope. But for a party that has been in power for the better part of 7 years, you cannot be running on hope. You have seen your president, you have seen your performance in office. If you have not delivered, people, maybe 60% of the electorate have made up their mind whether they are going to trust this party or not. The remaining 40% are looking at the personalities involved. Okay, can I trust this person? That's why it's difficult selling Oshibadi at this time, because for whatever it's worth, you know he's a professor of law. But most people will tell you, you have been in this same government. Whatever ideas are you bringing forth to this moment that you have not given to your principal over the last 7 years? So those are the issues we are having. Atiku is on the other side having his own issue. But truth be told, PDP has better internal democratic mechanisms than even the APC. The president has said that, okay, he doesn't have a candidate. It's difficult to believe him, given that in January, he said he has a preferred candidate and was not willing to name it. And given that some people believe that this Adamu Shaman that came out yesterday and gave out the name of one of the senators, the Senate president actually, as the preferred candidate before we start having distractions here and there. You know, it makes people to be suspicious of the intentions of even the president himself. So if we want to follow democracy, let us be democratic and let us be seen to be democratic. We cannot be imposing consensus. Consensus is something you do, it's not something you impose. And there are so many hawks within the cabinet of Mr. President. People have believed that, okay, maybe even Mr. President doesn't actually guide this process. Maybe some people, some groups within the system are trying to up over one another and come up with a better candidate for themselves, and not necessarily for the party and the country.
So I like that the fact that you brought up this issue of possibly the president guiding the process or not, because just a few days ago, as I said earlier, there was the lawsuit, there was the court case about the statutory delegate situation. The party has said that they're going to maintain the process and the structure that they have. And just to break down as to how delegates are chosen for the primaries, because it puts a lot of power into the hands of the governors. We can't ignore that. So the national delegates for the APC were elected 3 per local government or local government area, and with 768 local governments and 6 area councils, that's where we get the 2,322 who will decide who becomes the candidates of the ruling party. So it doesn't say they have to be the local government chairman, doesn't say they just need to be from that local government and be elected, and then the governor, of course, and the state apparently signs off on that. APC has 22 governors, and 5 of them were in the race until, I think, the withdrawal of Governor Abubakar Baduru of Jigawa State on Saturday night. And so the ones who are still remaining in the race, Yahaya Bello of Kogi State, Kaide Fayemi of Ekiti, Dave Umahi of Ebonyi, and Ben Ayade of Cross River. So, Peter, let me come to you. In terms of the structures, whether or not the president is able to sort of maneuver people towards where he wants, when you look at it, these are delegates that come about because of state structures, and the governors have a lot of power in the states. What do you think that would mean? This sort of play for influence between the federal and the presidency and the states and the structures, and of course how some of these states and governors are also looking to maintain power for themselves or also hand over to a successor in the coming elections.
I think actually the most powerful people in governors in the country are the governors. The governors even have more power than the president. So what you have is that the governors have these delegates. Once they have the delegates, they can use it to negotiate whatever they want with the president. Take, for example, what just played out a couple of days ago. They have governors from certain parts of the country meeting, 14 out of 13 agreed that the power must go to the South. And immediately they made that resolution. Even before they made that resolution, it hit the media before it got to the president. So automatically that now also undermined the idea of somebody coming around to say the current Senate president is now the consensus candidate. So the powers of the governors are very, very strong. But what this president have not done, because when the president made a speech and he talked about reciprocity, reaching out to the governors, I think all of this should have been done behind the scene. It's not for the president to come in the open because it's undemocratic. For the president to say, okay, you guys have done this, so I'm also going to do that. So all of those things are things that I expected that the president can do behind the scene, because politics is all about negotiation. Politics is all about give and take. So if the president wants that for himself, or if he has a preferred candidate, what he should have done is to have even started more than a year ago. We've seen how Obasanjo did in this country. So the fact that the president just started in the dying minute of it, now decided to play his card. Meanwhile, you have some very powerful candidates, powerful aspirants, who also have the ears of these governors, who are making sure that everybody needs to go to the ballot. I think it is in the interest of the president to ensure that there is free and fair election today at that primaries. Because if there is none, I think the president is not going to come out of it looking nice at all.
I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier to sort of also follow up with this question, and that's in terms of party ideology. There on the screen, you can see more dignitaries arriving to Eagle Square as well. So again, it's going to be a long night. So just dig in, get yourself some jollof rice, get yourself some whatever it is.
I can identify Rotimi Amechi there. That's him, is making his arrival, the immediate past Minister of Transport.
So, Peter, my question to you now is, in this issue of party ideology, while we have not seen a lot of talk about manifestos, a lot of talk about what their plans are for Nigeria, we've seen a lot more talk about how they want to cement power, how they plan to keep the party in power. And these are 2,300 plus delegates that are going to select the people that Nigerians are selecting. Do you think it's time for us to rethink this process, basically, of how someone does become a presidential flag bearer who is on the tickets, or the party anyway, of course, with the party logos and emblems on the tickets to be already on the ballot papers to be voted for? Because at the end of the day, 2,000 plus people are making a decision which is likely, depending on what you look at the statistics, 50-50, 60-40, may be the APC returning into power.
Yeah, because if you look at, if you just say 2,000 people, don't forget that those 2,000 people, 2,000 plus people were elected from each of the local governments. So you also have more people who have played their role in that local government to select them. Yet, the influence of the governors are very strong on those candidates. If you ask me, I will support not this indirect primaries, but we don't have the infrastructure yet to be able to say, just like the way you do it in Europe or America, where everybody go out there and you vote your candidate. But we don't have that here. But as soon as we are able to get that, I think that would be the direction that we should go. So that I can come and live, if I belong to a political party, I would just go to wherever booths that I need to vote. And I don't, after listening to the manifesto or whatever anybody says is going to deliver, then I can make that decision for myself. Not for any governor telling you, like what Ilo said earlier, there is no manifesto today that is going to pull a single vote. All you have has been done, everything has been, all the I's, even all the I's have been dotted, the T's have been crossed. So what you are going to have is people filing behind their governor and going to vote for a particular candidate A. That is what is going to happen tonight. So, but if we have these open primaries, or where everybody, member of the party, wherever you are, you go, you cast your vote, and then you have a candidate emerging through that process, it means more people are involved, and it also means that nobody is coerced into for any particular candidate. And then inducement, the inducement will be drastically reduced. Because when you have this indirect primaries, what you have is that the inducements are going to be there. So, but if it's a general thing, it will be there will be too much cost for anyone to bear. So that will substantially reduce this financial inducement that we are suspecting that is at play. But we are saying we are suspecting, but we actually know that there are financial inducement that is at play in all of this.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. Now, let me bring in Ilo. This year makes it 23 years of our uninterrupted democratic experience. The Northern Caucus of APC governors did meet and came out with a resolution saying, you know, majority of them have decided that the presidency should be zoned to the southern part of the country. 23 years uninterrupted democracy. And then let's understand that the People's Democratic Party have chosen their candidate and is from the north of the country. So are we at a point where ethnicity, we still need to balance ethnic sentiments, or it shouldn't really matter? We should go for the best man that can do the job, for competence.
Okay, thank you. Let me say this. If you remember when President Yar'Adua was dying, and the teaching cabinet, as it were full dragging about handing over power to Vice President Jonathan at the time, the National Assembly came up with what they call the doctrine of necessity, that ensured that there will not be a lacuna in governance on account of health and the likes. We are at such a point again where if we don't get it right, we may not be able to manage the conflagration that will ensue. We've had 8 years of a northern presidency. And though it is not written in the Constitution that power has to be moving north and south, but there are some rituals, there are some mores, there are customs that we have gotten used to. And this government has been facing a lot of challenges over the last years. They didn't start it, but it has gone beyond something that is manageable under them. Sunday was 2 days ago, thereabouts. You knew what happened in Owo. Some people have the opinion that there's a kind of political cover for some people that are hell-bent on destroying this country. Whether they are facts or there are opinions or assumptions or what you call gossips in the beer parlors, there seems to be people believing it. So those northern governors that you alluded to, they are conscious. You have to have a country first before you think of governing one. There's problem in the northeast, there's problem in the north central, in the northwest, in the south-south, in the southeast. Southwest has just been thrown into the fray. So I want to believe that what these governors did is expedient. Democracy is supposed to grow, but every democracy has its own peculiarities. In, I think, Switzerland, for instance, there is the issue of power rotation among 6 regions or thereabouts that they have every year. So if the unspoken constitution of our republic is for power to move between north and south, then I think what APC has done is to save the nation from possible implosion in the coming months and years. So whether PDP has given into the north, at least let democracy be seen to have played out. They will have done better if maybe they gave it to the south too, but they can say, okay, the last time we gave it out, it was to the southern president. If APC had gone in the same direction, then you can be sure that whatever president that emerges from that north-north presidency will have been one that will have lost maybe moral power from the people of the south. You see a lot of recalcitrance from people down here. I can't, somebody was talking to me the other day, I was saying, I can't serve one Fulani man for 8 years, and just immediately after, power is given to another Fulani man for another 8 years. So while we talk about democracy as being a game of numbers, we also have to be conscious that one swallow does not make a summer. One person cannot, the Bible will say, one person cannot say we have come. So the country belongs to all of us. It must be seen to be following those norms. Otherwise, it will be difficult to manage. Even as it were now, the Southeast is having issues. But the saving grace is that Peter will be in the race. So for whatever it's worth, if we can pull a surprise and win, so be it. But if not, at least we have found a way for the Southeast to express themselves. So hoping that maybe somewhere in the future, that region will be able to produce the president for all of Nigeria. What we need to do is to keep the faith in the country and make sure that, okay, we are getting somewhere in terms of democratic practices. I hope our leaders are listening because they are the ones that are always putting the country at risk. Let's hope what the northern governors have done, we see the light of day. Maybe APC or whoever wins in 2023 again continues the tradition of recognizing democratic tenets and being sensitive to the needs of every region that constitutes the country.
All right. Peter, I want to get your thoughts on what Ilo said, because it does remain, simply it seems, the right choice and the politically expedient choice to have some kind of zoning in play. We've heard from many people in the past several months that it's not in the Constitution, it's a handshake agreement, gentleman's agreement that's been about since the days of former President Olusegun Obasanjo. But when you look at it now, in 2023, a country that is more than 60-something years old, how much longer does zoning have to be a consideration when it comes to our elections? We've had these conversations around federal character and the need to have representation, but then there's also the conversation around credibility and around competence as well. So how much longer do we see zoning continuing to be such a massive part of the lead up to elections in Nigeria? Peter?
I think it has to do with the consciousness of the people. You see, you can't plant corn and expect to reap cocoyam. Apologies to Majek Fashek. If consciousness of the people are lifted up to a level whereby they will not take nonsense from anybody, you will find out that the politicians will start behaving properly. We must never forget that politicians thrive on division. Politicians thrive on division. Because what if you have the white statesman thrives on ensuring that the country is together. Most politicians don't care whether the country goes up in flame, except they get what they want. So if we know that this is how they behave, so what we need to do is to ensure that we are able to hold them to be accountable. What scares politicians mostly? The media, the people. Now, okay, I'm talking to you now, students at home. Because the politicians, the current government knows that there are no consequences. When there are no consequences for the actions, then they don't care. But if they know that there are consequences for their action, they will not allow our universities to be shut. We always have this saying that politicians are in their best behavior when it's close to the election. So if you have politicians still acting as if it doesn't matter, it's because they know they can take the people for a ride. So you and I also need to stand up and be asking some serious questions. Serious questions such as, why do I need to vote for Mr. A? Why do I need to vote for Mr. B? You just made reference now to say, they said it's not in the Constitution, but there's a handshake agreement. In a civilized society, in Japan, for example, if you sit down with somebody and you two, they nod their head, nothing changes that agreement. They hardly put anything in black and white. Their handshake is stronger than that. So what we must do is to ask ourselves, since 19...
Okay, connection issues there with... okay, he's back.
These days now, the delegates are now more powerful. Every day you're having, the delegates are becoming more powerful.